lot of, not a lot, but there are a bunch of organizations that are conducting research, some by doctors, some in their own clinics, some rather more elaborate, like the Whittemore Institute, Whittemore Peterson Institute. How do these collaborate together? I mean, what is the interface between them, and how do you avoid duplication in a resource-constrained world?
Well, boy, it is a resource-constrained world, and that I think is really the overarching difficulty for all of us who do research. We certainly know them and talk with them. We've begun to chat about whether or not there are opportunities to collaborate. It's easy to say and not easy to do, but we're well aware that we want to avoid duplication. We're well aware that we're all short on funds. So there are some discussions that have started, and not sure where that will go.
What is your relationship with the federal government?
Well, we have a seat on the CIFSAC as an organization, and feel that if you have an opportunity to have a seat at the table, it's better to have a seat at the table than not. CIFSAC certainly has been a challenging committee, and I think all of us see the limitations of that activity, and yet we're there. We want to have the opportunity to present our research program to CIFSAC. Beyond that, Dr. Vernon has been requested to talk about her knowledge of MECFS on some of the various committees that come up. And so again, because we're a research organization, we're happy to bring relevant data-based information to CIFSAC and the other federal efforts.
The patient community, which is very articulate,
yes,
patient advocates,
yes,
uses the internet with great success, I'm glad to say.
yes.
This would have been a much worse time for so many people if there weren't the internet and the ability
yes.
to communicate, and simply to know that they're not alone. And they're quite unhappy with people who are cooperating with CIFSAC, that they feel it doesn't go anywhere, that it holds meetings, that it cuts off patients who are trying to testify, which I have seen with my own eyes, and that it really is a stonewalling operation. You don't feel that?
I am new to it, and I go back to the idea that if you're unhappy with something, it's better to have a seat at the table and attempt to work through it and attempt to add value. It's not clear that some of the activities of the federal government that we are seeing would have happened without CIFSAC. None of us thinks the IOM is perfect. None of us thinks the P2P is perfect.
A lot of clinicians think it's highly imperfect, and I think 54 of them signed a petition of complaint about it.
Well, I think you're referring to P2P, and some of those now, interestingly, are actually serving on the P2P. So, there's a long history of difficulty with the federal government, and I will say I don't know anyone or any organization that is less happy with the lack of funding for this illness than we are. It is an outrage that there has been so little federal funding and support for this illness, and we feel that deeply. I feel that deeply, and so we do have a seat at the table, and we can use that seat to be a loud, articulate voice, putting forward our point of view about research.
How do you feel we can direct, or you can direct, all this latent anger, really, in the patient cohort and in the people who take care of the patients who are really angry? Often I get as many as 200 emails a day of people who are really angry. I get so many emails I cannot respond to them because I don't have the secretarial help to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a magic wand that we can wave on how to take all that justified anger and channel it in a way that's effective. I mean, I will say, as you and I discussed briefly, I am a patient myself.
I want to get to that.
And I remember those very dark, very hard years of my life when I really did not believe I would ever be able to live the life that I wanted to live. So I come to this job with deep, righteous anger. I would not be committing myself to this work or this job if I did not feel that anger, feel that intense frustration that so little progress has been made.
You told me that you're about 95% functional.
Yeah.
Is there any therapy or way of living that you can point to as contributing to your own?
God, I wish. You know, I think as with most patients, I don't know why I got sick, and I don't know why I got better. One of the very few who does get better.
Was it classic? Was it related to exercise?
Oh, they're all complex, aren't they? I mean, in my instance, I sort of got the flu. I had had mono in high school. Then I got the flu as in my early 30s and didn't think much of it. And being sick for days led to being sick for weeks, led to being sick for months. And it took me some time to really understand that something unusual was going on. This was in the 1980s. And I became very sick, and I had the very typical experience of going from doctor to doctor and just being demeaned, being dismissed, being told I was depressed when I knew that was not the case. It was a very dark and difficult time of my life, as it is for everyone who suffers from this illness, both because I was completely debilitated and also was by most people not believed. And I think the emotional aspect of having your credibility questioned, I mean, for me that was equally as difficult. But I discovered this tiny organization then in the 80s called the CFIDS Association of America, and it truly was my lifeline to know that I wasn't alone and that this was substantiated by other people, and met some other patients there who then got me hooked up with a fellow who did alternative medicine and tried many, many things. But again, I don't know why I got better. If I did, I'd love to tell the world, but I don't. So ironically for me, when I heard that this job was open, these 25, 30 years later, I mean, you know, this is a dream job for me. You know, I've worked in the private sector running other companies for some time, and to take the skills I've learned there and apply them to a problem that I feel deeply and passionately about.
Finally, Carol, what about fundraising? How is it going? Is it a constant battle?
Well, yes, it's a constant battle. I mean, you know, there are, you know, the irony is there are so many Americans who are sick with this illness, and yet, you know, so many live on limited funds, aren't able to earn a living. So I think we, like all the other organizations in this field, struggle for funding. We are fortunate in that we're a legacy organization and have people who've been loyal to us and given us of their limited funds for years and years and years, and we are so grateful. There is no gift of any size that we aren't glad to get. But again, I want to come back to the core is using those funds to do the best possible research to move forward the field. We can't get there soon enough.
Carol Head, thank you very much and good luck.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.